take you down to Central America, to Tropic Star Lodge, to a really crazy man. That's what Bill Boyce and I have in common. We're both nuts. Bill, it's great to see you, my friend.
Yeah, we are. We're both nuts, Philip, and that's we're kind of from that same that cracked mold, and that's kind of where we want to be in life, right? You got to push the envelope every day.
100%, man. I mean, you and I, the first time we ever met many years ago, I think we just felt an instant connection, man. We had so much in
I remember
common.
that.
Yeah, we value the same kind of stuff. And that's kind of why you're down in Panama, man. That's exactly why you're there. Why don't you give everybody who's listening a geography lesson? Where in Panama are you? How remote is it? And then we're going to talk about not only a historic marlin fishing, but also Guy Harvey and you have been tagging fish. You've got some interesting data. We got a lot to cover.
We do. So I'm in a place called Tropic Star Lodge. It's actually a world famous lodge, right? It's pretty much a bucket list location for anybody who's ever been to the sport fishing, reads magazines, looks at, listens to podcasts, YouTube videos, television shows. It's been around 62 years, a massively famous amount. A massively famous list, right, of anglers who have come here and fished, dignitaries, politicians, actors. I mean, and all the best captains and mates in the world have come through here to fish, right? Famous really for its black marlin fishing. So that's a fish that you really don't target anywhere in the world. Maybe Australia, certainly for the Great Barrier Reef. You can catch them in the Sea of Cortez. You can catch them off Cabo. Obviously, the black and blue tournament in Cabo San Lucas is black marlin, blue marlin, and you can catch them all through Central America. But really, there's a place in Panama here called the Zangre Reef, and it just collects a lot of black marlin because it's a lot of small tunas. And most of your blues and blacks, anywhere you see high concentrations of small tunas, you will see concentrations and aggregations of big billfish. So what we found here
Go ahead.
is typically when you see this kind of fish, blue marlin, black marlin grouped in one area, there's two specific reasons. They're here to breed or they are here to feed. Animals are definitely here to feed because we haven't seen a gravid female. We haven't seen any egg mass in a female in all the years we've been taking ovaries out of some of these big marlin. We've never seen one. Just like the bluefin tuna off California, right? You got these 200-300 pound bluefin. You would expect to cut them open and see eggs, and there's just not. That fish won't spawn until it trans-Pacific migrates back over to the Sea of Japan or over off Taiwan, and that is where that fish will spawn. So some fish are like that. Others like Dorado and yellowfin tuna don't care. They're just a broadcast spawn wherever it feels good. So these fish are here to feed, and so that's why these anglers are here to catch their black marlin, right?
Interesting, Bill. And it is a very short run to get to the fish. Can you put into perspective not only how short of a run it is, but the historic season, the best perhaps ever in the history of Tropic Star Lodge? And that's saying an awful lot.
It's saying that's a massive statement. 62 years, this place has been famous, right? And the current record now is 179 marlin. That's not striped marlin. I mean, you catch 179 striped marlin in Cabo on a good day. This is blues and blacks, right? Blue black marlin in a small fleet, 15 boats going out, 16, 18 boats on a given day. So 179 marlin in a 6-day week because you fish Sunday to Saturday. And so the previous record, though, this year was 108. So then we broke that with 179. The next week we got 113. Next week we had 117. Next week we had 162. So it's been really, really historic marlin fishing. And a lot of that's because El Nino is gone and La Nina has moved in. So much cooler water temperatures. Instead of surface temperatures at 88, 89, 90, these have been like 80, 81, 82. So cooler waters prevailing, a lot more tuna at the surface. And the marlin have just been here, and the anglers have been benefiting from this concentration of fish that are here to eat.
That is magnificent. If you're a novice angler, Bill, and you're looking at this or listening to this podcast, you're saying, God, that sounds like it may be out of my league. I don't know if I can do that. I understand that the guys at the Tropic Star Lodge can take literally a novice angler and help them to realize their sport fishing dream.
Oh, gosh, absolutely. I mean, a very small percentage of the anglers, Phil, actually set their hooks, right? We're typically fishing 3 live baits, 2 off the rigger, 1 long, and they're just, tuna swimming around. You're just kind of slow trolling around some of the structure off of a drop-off. where these fish have been known to congregate each day. So you kind of stay on top of those concentrations, and or you're trolling, trolling lures and plastics that just covered more ground. But um, the uh, the thing about these blacks is that they jump a lot, right? So you could get on them quick. You're these really maneuverable boats, these little 31 Bertrams, and so a lot of times you can get these fish caught and released in 15, 20, 30 minutes. Once in a while you get when they'll go deep on you, it might be an hour. We've seen anglers 2 hours on a fight, but you have fighting shares, you have little harnesses to get in to make it more comfortable for the angler. But you can absolutely be a novice angler. They'll set the gear for you. You can get in that chair and you can just wind at that rod and watch that thing jump and get yourself a fish, right?
Oh
So
God.
we've had people from all over the world, from all different levels of skills, angling skills. We've got trout fishermen from Idaho. They've never caught a saltwater fish. They come down here. First fish is a 400-pound blue marlin, right?
Oh
So
my
yeah, it's
God.
not like you have to be an expert angler to come down here and catch a marlin. You can come down here, and the crews, captains and mates are just amazing. They've been doing this for years, and they just really, really know the game. In fact, if you don't tell that mate, hey, listen, I want to set my own stuff. I want to pitch to my own fish. If that thing comes out of the rubber band, I want to grab the rod and I want to set it. If you don't let that completely be known to that mate when you get on that boat, he's gonna beat you to that rod. You're you're not you're not gonna beat that mate to the rod, right? So it's pretty fun. But
Oh God. That
we've
sounds
had
so good.
yeah, we've had lady anglers, kids, 16, 17, 18 years old, catching fish on stand up. We've got all the AFCO harnesses and Black Magic harnesses, nice system made out of New Zealand. You get in that harness, you can put a lot of pressure on a fish, just like you do long range, tuna fishing, right? Same harness styles. And yeah, you catch some big fish on those harnesses. And where a big tuna will actually pull way harder than some of these marlin sometimes, because they
Yeah.
just take you deep and you're always just leaning on a rod. These marlin jump a lot, right? So they spend a lot of time at the surface. That gives you time to come back down, back down, back down, get on top of them. And all you got to do is get that swivel of the leader to the tip of that rod. It's a caught fish. At that point, you can, we'll cut them off with a circle hook, cut it close to the mouth, so the fish still has full mandibular movement for feeding and for breathing. And if it's a lure, obviously going to bring it up. Be careful, gloves up. Take the hook out and catch your next one.
Yeah, for sure. Guy Harvey is known for his artistic prowess, for sure, but he does so much with regard to conservation. And you guys have been working together, and I understand you've got some interesting data to share with us.
Yeah, so Guy and I met in Hawaii in 1995 or six at the HIBT tournament. He saw my photography. We became really, really close friends. We filmed all over the world for 6 years. Did some work with the BBC, right? In the first Blue Planet documentary. We were showing their film crews how we were jumping in on these billfish to get that footage that they were looking for because they couldn't figure it out. It was pretty fun. We're just teasing fish and jumping in like you would fishing lightline world records, where you'll tease a fish and then present a bait to it, right? So we were using boats that were famous for doing that. And so Guy, I've known him for many, many years. We're literally brothers. And he was down here for 2 weeks in December, 2 weeks in January with some stat tags, right? PSAT tags. And with, I think they're 9-month deployments. So once you tag that fish 9 months later, providing the battery lasts that long, that tag will pop up and give you a multitude of data that gets downloaded, from Argos satellites into these computers of scientists that are doing this particular work. So we did have a tag called a toe tag. It was the first one we ever put in a black marlin anywhere in the world. And we did that about 4 weeks ago. And a tether tag has about a 1 meter, call it 1 yard long tether to a floating tag. And so the fish has to come to the surface to where that tag pops the surface, and then it'll just transmit a location.
Yeah.
No other data,
Uh-huh.
just location. But because black marlin, what we've been seeing in vertical migration data from these sat tags, that black marlin is an animal that spends a lot of time at the surface at night. Striped marlin spend a lot of time at surface day and night. It'd be really easy to get. You'd be pinging, striped marlin would be pinging all day long. But these blacks, as long as you can get a ping once a day, once every day, once every 3 days, 4 days, at least you can keep track where that fish is swimming. So we put one of those in a tag, about a toe tag, into a marlin about 4 weeks ago. 4 days later, we weren't sure if it lived or not, right? Because you never know.
Right.
And 4 days later, it pinged about 40 miles north of us, and then it started making a sweep across an island chain called the Las Perlas Islands. We're just south of Panama City. And then it started swinging south. And right now, it is heading straight for the Galapagos Islands. It's about 500 miles off Panama and about 200 miles from the Galapagos. So we're
Wow.
really interested. Yeah, yeah, it's cool, huh? It's
Oh
amazing
my
data.
God.
And it's
Fascinating.
pinging and pinging and pinging. And every time it pings, they hit me a WhatsApp like, here it is now.
Oh, that is bitching, man.
It's awesome. But what we're
Yeah.
really interested in, how long is it going to stay in the Galapagos? Is it going to stay there? Is it going to go trans-Pacific to Australia somehow? Is it going to go to Marquesas off Tahiti? Where's it going to go? Or is it going to just circle right back, come along Ecuador, Colombia, and right back into Panama, right back to that Zangre Reef? That is going to be amazing data.
Bill, it's incredibly interesting. And I can only imagine that when you get a few tags out there and you start to gather more data, how you're going to be able to put this all together and understand more about these magnificent animals.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, we're so excited about the data we're getting out of this toe tag.
Yeah.
Even though it's not giving us vertical migration, it's not telling us where it's going in the water column. We know when it pings, it's at the surface. And what's really, really interesting, and it's exactly what our data has been showing in these other tags, is that every time it pings, it's typically about 3 o'clock in the morning till about 5 in the morning before the sun comes up. So
Yeah.
it's definitely keeping a lot of time at the surface in those dark early morning hours.
That is amazing how that happens. And in fact, you guys, you were going to come home in just a little bit, and you've decided to delay your trip because it sounds like Guy Harvey's coming back, and you're going to continue this great work.
Yeah, guys come back in on the first, which is Saturday. I was going to leave back to Panama City on Saturday and then fly home back to California on the second. And guys like, hey man, we got a bunch more tags. We'd love to have you hang out again. So yeah, corporate up in Panama City says, Bill, you can stay as long as you want. Love having you down here. We're having a good time with the guests, and we're getting a lot out of that because I give a lot of science talks and it's been a ton of fun, Phil. I've been having a blast here. But yeah, so I'm going
They
to stay
could,
another week.
they could not pick a better person than you, Bill. I
Had a good
mean,
time.
on
Yeah.
so many levels, man.
It's been
I,
fun. It's really been fun. I've been getting some really good photography, obviously, and being able to go out on the boats and people love, hey Bill, what's going on here? What's going on there? We're seeing these dolphins, we're seeing this, we're seeing this. So I can literally be giving like pelagic ecology 101 classes, out on the boats and everybody here, and then they come back and go, man, you gotta take Bill out there. So it's really been fun getting invites almost daily, go on the boats and have a good time, meeting people from all over the world. Yeah. And
and when
it's
you
been a
get
very enjoyable experience.
when you get back here to SoCal, we're going to sit down for 2 or 3 hours and do a long form
Hey,
podcast and get into all
let's
this.
do that.
One more
That would
thing,
be a blast. I'd enjoy that.
I know you got to run. I wanted to ask you. We've talked a lot about the marlin. People also want to know: is there anything else for me to catch down there in at Tropic Star Lodge?
Yeah, great question, Phil. I mean, it's famous. It is famous for the huge Dorado, right? I mean, 50, 60 pound Dorado. We had one captain, I believe it was early last week. They caught a Dorado and they said it was huge. I go, well, I've been seeing huge Dorado all winter long. I'm talking 60, 65 pound fish we've weighed with an IWC scale. And this captain, they had already caught it and filleted it. And this captain's he's not a shitter, right? He's really good. And he says, Bill, this thing was 70 pounds. And a lot
Oh,
of the world
geez.
records are like in the 80s, right? I think even in the low 90s. So we know they get bigger than 70, but that was a good fish. And there's a lot of them here because there's so much bait. These things aren't eating anchovies and sardines. They're eating tunas. And you know what a fast growing fish a Dorado is?
Oh, yeah.
You're feeding them tunas and bullet tunas and mackerels and scads. They grow quick. So there's a lot of there's been some big yellowfin tuna. Had a double hookup a week ago. There's a 200 pound and a 226 caught simultaneously. Just slow trolling baits for black marlin. They got a double hookup. We got two big yellowfin, and there's been some wahoo showing up, which is a real incidental catch here. It's not like you're gonna go out and put a bunch of wahoo bombs and troll the edge and catch a bunch of wahoo out here. That's just not the case here. But they
Yeah.
obviously inhabit these waters. And we caught, I think, 2 or 3 last week. Not big, 35, 40, 45 pound fish, but obviously really tasty for all the guests to be able to enjoy it in the afternoons.
Oh, heck yeah. Heck yeah. Bill, if people want to visit Tropic Star Lodge, what's the best way to get more information on doing that?
Yeah, tropicstarlodge.com. And they can just email that and go, hey, we just heard a podcast with Phil and Bill, and Well, check that out, Bill and Bill.
Hey,
And
sure, there we go. Or Bill and
yeah,
Phil. We'll
boom.
coin flip on that.
Right on. But that's a good way. In fact, the winter bite's been so good because this is the season. The marlin season's December, January, February starts to wane. And I mean, we're expecting to kind of start slowing down this week, but we had 2 grand slams yesterday. Another boat got I think 2 blues and 7 or 8 sailfish. So it's been a really, really good season. But because of that, you get a lot of people that are rebooking for 26, 27 already.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
I
but
know.
there's inshore season. If you come here like May and June, that's where you get your rooster fish. You get your Kubera snappers. You get um, almaco jacks, which are big amberjacks, right? And then groupers and those type of fish inshore. There's even big tarpon. I think we discussed this in our last one. Tarpon
Yeah,
up to 200 pounds here now that have come through the Panama Canal, and they're actually spawning here now. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. The inshore impressive as well, and that's usually April, May, June. And then if you get offshore in those months, a lot of sailfish. Like you can see 15, 20 sailfish in a
wow,
day. And so that's a good time to come here with 20 pounds, 16, 12, fish them on 8 pound, right? Fish them on some light line.
fantastic. What's your last day? When are you going to be coming back?
So I fly back to Panama City on the 8th, and then I fly home from Panama City on the 9th. So I'll be getting back into California on March 9th.
How about I check with you like the 6th, 7th, and we wrap up one final podcast, you and I, because I'd love to hear how this goes with Guy Harvey. I'm
Yes.
fascinated by that.
Maybe I'll get Guy in the podcast.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, man. He'll join that if we can if we get the timing right? Yeah, that
Yeah,
sounds a lot of fun, Phil. And then I'm going to miss PCS. I was really hoping to be home for that PCS show and walk around and say hey to so many friends in the industry like we always do at those shows.
yeah.
But at any rate, so I'm going to miss it. I'm gonna hang here one more week. So if you see anybody at PCS, tell them that Bill said hi.
Shoot, you just said it yourself to everybody, man. Right now. Bill,
Right on,
love you,
brother.
man. You're number
Love you too,
one.
bro.
They could not have a better person at Tropic Star Lodge. My friend Bill Boyce down there live from Panama. It's great to see you. We'll hook up with you again. Good luck with Guy Harvey, and thanks for taking time for this.
Thanks, Bill. See you, brother.
Love you, Bill.
Love you too, bro.